Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. My name is Mason, and until a few weeks ago I believed I was one of the lucky ones. I had a stable job in Chicago, a comfortable apartment overlooking the river, and a wife I thought was completely devoted to me. Her name was Olivia, and for years I described her as the center of my universe. She was witty, charming, effortlessly beautiful, the kind of woman strangers remembered long after meeting her. I believed our marriage was unbreakable. I believed I knew her better than anyone else alive. Then one Friday night everything shifted, quietly at first, then all at once. We met friends at a trendy lounge in downtown Chicago, one of those places with velvet seating, dim lighting, and drinks priced like liquid gold. Olivia loved the atmosphere, the music, the attention. I never cared much for it, but seeing her excited used to make it worth it. At the beginning nothing seemed unusual. People were laughing, telling stories, ordering round after round. Then I noticed how often Olivia leaned toward one particular person at the table. His name was Brandon, a colleague from her office. She reacted to everything he said as if it were brilliant, touching his forearm lightly, maintaining eye contact a second too long. At first I told myself I was imagining things, but the feeling would not go away. At one point he leaned close to her ear and whispered something. She threw her head back, laughing loudly, louder than necessary, drawing attention from nearby tables. Several people glanced at me, including one of her closest friends, Natalie, whose expression shifted from amusement to discomfort. She quietly muttered, "Wow, that is painful to watch." My chest tightened as if invisible hands were squeezing the air out of me. My own wife was putting on a performance, and I was the unwanted audience. Later Brandon lifted his glass toward her with a crooked smile and called her the spark of the night. She nudged him playfully, telling him to stop while clearly enjoying every second. Everyone laughed. I did not. I felt strangely detached, as if I were observing strangers rather than my own marriage unraveling in real time. Eventually I leaned closer and asked Olivia softly if we could head home. She frowned, irritated, and asked what my problem was. I said I was not feeling well. She sighed dramatically and told me to stop being difficult because everyone else was having fun. When we finally left, she stayed behind to hug people goodbye, lingering especially long with Brandon. I stood outside beneath the cold city lights feeling humiliated and small. When she joined me she was smiling brightly, acting as though nothing had happened. I asked whether she realized how uncomfortable she had made me. She rolled her eyes and laughed, saying I was overreacting and that it was harmless flirting. Harmless. That word echoed in my head the entire ride home. The next morning she called while I was picking up supplies at a hardware store. Her tone was unusually sweet, almost rehearsed. "Hey love, just wanted to make sure you are not upset. You know you mean everything to me." Her words sounded empty, like lines memorized for a role. It did not reassure me. If anything, it made the unease stronger. Something inside me insisted that what I saw was not innocent. Later that day she mentioned she would be working late because of a major deadline. "Brandon has been a lifesaver on this project," she added casually. Hearing his name made my stomach twist. That evening I ate dinner alone and pretended to watch a game, though I could not recall a single play afterward. Around 10:30 she finally came home. Her hair looked slightly disheveled, makeup faded in a way that did not match a normal workday. I asked how the office was. She paused just long enough for me to notice before saying it was exhausting but productive. Then she kissed my cheek and went straight to the shower. That was when I saw her purse sitting unattended on the counter. Olivia never went anywhere without her phone in hand. Yet now it was inside the bag. My pulse hammered in my ears as I opened it. I told myself to stop, that invading her privacy would change everything. But my instincts refused to be ignored. The screen lit up with new notifications. A chain of messages from Brandon filled the display. "Tonight was incredible. I cannot stop thinking about you." Hope Mason did not suspect anything. My hands began to shake so violently I nearly dropped the device. I placed it back exactly where it had been and sat on the couch staring at the wall, trying to breathe normally before she returned. When she came out wrapped in a towel, she smiled warmly, sat beside me, and rested her head on my shoulder as if we were perfectly happy. "What are you watching?" she asked casually. I forced myself to answer, though my mind was screaming. Confronting her right then would only give her time to deny everything. I needed proof. Over the next few days she behaved almost excessively affectionate, cooking elaborate meals, suggesting movie nights, buying me expensive sneakers I had mentioned months earlier. It all felt artificial, like a carefully staged illusion. Then Wednesday came. She announced another late meeting. This time I decided I would not stay home wondering. I waited several minutes after she left before grabbing my keys and following at a distance. She did not drive toward her office. Instead, she headed across town to a quiet little restaurant tucked between boutiques. I parked across the street and watched her walk inside. 10 minutes later, Brandon arrived. They greeted each other with a familiarity that made my stomach churn. Soon they were leaning close across the table, smiling, laughing softly, completely absorbed in each other. At one point she reached across and placed her hand over his. They did not pull away. They did not look around to see if anyone was watching. They acted like a couple. My chest burned as I lifted my phone and began taking photos. If this nightmare was real, I would need undeniable evidence. After more than an hour, they left together and walked toward his car. I followed at a distance through several turns until they reached a small roadside motel on the outskirts of the city. Watching them enter the building side by side felt like something inside me collapsing beyond repair. I remained in my car long after the lights in their room came on, unable to move, unable to think clearly. Part of me wanted to storm inside. Another part knew I would shatter completely if I saw the truth face to face. Eventually, I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. If she believed she could betray me and continue living as if nothing had changed, she was wrong. I would not react blindly. I would wait, because this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke to the smell of cinnamon and coffee drifting from the kitchen. Olivia was humming softly, flipping pancakes like a woman in a commercial for perfect domestic bliss. When she saw me, she smiled brightly and kissed my cheek. "Good morning, sleepyhead." For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined everything. Then the images returned, the restaurant, the motel, her hand in his. I sat at the table and forced a neutral expression. "Late night at work?" I asked casually, watching her eyes. She froze for the briefest instant before nodding. "Yeah, we had to finish reports before the deadline." She placed a plate in front of me, her hands steady, her smile flawless. Every bite tasted like cardboard. Over the next several days, I began quietly collecting pieces of the truth. When she left her phone unattended, I checked messages. When she showered, I searched her purse. I found receipts from places she claimed she had never visited. Hotel key cards she must have forgotten to throw away. Screenshots of conversations saved to cloud backups. Each discovery felt like another crack spreading through what remained of my heart. By Friday, she told me she was meeting her girlfriends for drinks. I already knew it was a lie. This time I asked my friend Eric from work to come with me. He was calm, level-headed, the kind of person who could stop me from doing something irreversible. We parked down the block from my apartment and waited. "You sure you want to see this, man?" he asked quietly. I nodded without looking at him. "I need to know everything." Olivia left wearing a dress far too elegant for a casual night out. We followed at a safe distance as she drove across town. She did not go to any bar. She went straight back to the same motel. Brandon's car was already there. My pulse thundered in my ears as I stepped out. Eric stayed behind, ready in case things went bad. Inside the office, I told the manager I was trying to locate a friend staying there. A folded bill slid across the counter made the process surprisingly easy. "Room 214. I walked down the dim corridor until I reached the door. Voices filtered through, low at first, then clearer. Olivia's laugh. Soft, carefree, intimate. My hand trembled as I raised my phone and started recording. I was not going to burst in. I needed proof, not chaos. Then I heard her words clearly. I do not know how much longer I can keep pretending. Her tone was amused, not distressed. Brandon chuckled. Mason is clueless, he will never figure it out. She laughed again, a sound that once meant happiness to me. Even if he did, she said, what would he do about it? He is too soft to leave. Something inside me went cold and still. In that moment, the pain transformed into something sharper, something controlled. I had heard enough. I turned and walked away without making a sound. That night, I did not go home. I stayed at Eric's apartment, replaying the recording again and again until the shock wore off and clarity took its place. By morning, I had a plan. When I returned to the apartment, Olivia greeted me with a kiss and a concerned smile. Where were you last night? I was worried. I smiled back, hiding everything behind a calm mask. Just had some things to handle. Meanwhile, copies of the messages, photos, and audio recordings were already being sent to Natalie. She had always been brutally honest and deeply loyal to the truth. If anyone could make sure the story did not get twisted, it was her. Olivia had no idea what was about to happen. That evening, she suggested dinner at a quiet restaurant, probably hoping to reinforce the illusion of normalcy. I agreed. We sat across from each other under warm lighting, soft music playing, waiters moving gracefully between tables. She laughed, told stories, touched my hand occasionally, performing the role of devoted wife perfectly. All I could see was the deception beneath the surface. When the check arrived, she reached for her phone. Seconds later, her expression changed. Color drained from her face as notification after notification flooded the screen. Messages from friends, from coworkers, from people we barely spoke to anymore. Is this true? Tell me this is fake. How could you do this? Her hands began to shake. She looked up at me, eyes wide with panic. Mason, what is happening? I leaned back slowly, folding my arms. Why do not you tell me? Or better yet, explain it to Brandon. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time since I had known her, Olivia had nothing to say. And I knew this was only the beginning. Her phone kept vibrating in her hands, the screen lighting up again and again as more messages poured in. She stared at it as if it were something dangerous. Her lips parted but no words coming out. Panic spread across her face, raw and unmistakable. Mason, she whispered finally, her voice shaking. Why is everyone texting me? I held her gaze without blinking. You tell me. Or maybe Brandon already did. Her composure cracked completely. This is not what you think, she said quickly, desperation rising. I cut her off, my voice calm but sharp. Do not insult me by lying again. I know about the restaurant. I know about the motel. I know about the messages. I know about what you said behind that door. Her face went white. For a moment she looked like she might faint. Mason, please just listen, she pleaded, reaching across the table. I stood up before she could touch me and placed cash beside the check. You have had months to explain. Instead you chose lies. You chose humiliation. You chose him. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she grabbed my arm. I love you, she said through sobs. I made a mistake. I pulled free and stepped back. Save those words for someone who still believes you. Without another glance, I walked out, leaving her alone under the warm restaurant lights, exposed and shattered. Outside, the night air felt brutally cold against my skin. My hands trembled, not from fear or grief, but from adrenaline surging through me. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, breathing hard, letting the reality settle. There was no going back. I drove aimlessly through the city for nearly an hour, headlights streaking past like ghosts. Every memory replayed in fragments. Her laughter at the bar, her messages to him, her voice mocking me. Eventually, I ended up outside Eric's building again. He opened the door before I even knocked, concern written across his face. "You look wrecked, man." I stepped inside and collapsed onto the couch. I told him everything, from the confrontation to the flood of messages. His jaw tightened with anger. "She has some nerve," he muttered. I stared at the floor. Part of me still wanted the pain to stop. Part of me wanted to forgive just to erase the emptiness. Eric leaned forward, voice firm. "Do not make decisions based on weakness. You have control now, use it." I stayed there that night, sleep coming only in short, restless bursts. By morning my phone was full of missed calls and messages from Olivia. "Please talk to me. I can fix this. I love you. You are blowing this out of proportion." I deleted them all without replying. Instead, I spent the day taking concrete steps. I met with a divorce attorney. Calm, professional, efficient. He explained everything: property division, legal protections, timelines. For the first time, the situation felt real rather than surreal. I also spoke again with Natalie, who was furious on my behalf. People needed to know the truth before Olivia could rewrite the story. By evening, I felt strangely steady, as if shock had hardened into resolve. That was when Olivia showed up at Eric's apartment. Her eyes were swollen, makeup smeared, voice hoarse from crying. "Please, Mason," she begged as soon as I stepped into the hallway. "I just want to fix this." I crossed my arms, keeping distance between us. "How exactly do you fix betrayal? How do you fix laughing at your husband behind his back? How do you fix sneaking into motels with another man?" She flinched as if struck. "It did not mean anything," she said desperately. "I was confused. I was stupid. Give me one more chance." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "You had years of chances. You threw them away." She reached toward me, sobbing. "We can go to therapy, we can start over, I will cut him off completely." I stepped back. "No. You broke this, and now you live with it." Her cries echoed down the hallway as I went back inside and closed the door. For several seconds I stood there, eyes shut, letting the sound fade. Eric handed me a drink without saying anything. "That had to be brutal," he said finally. I nodded. Too late for anything else. Over the following weeks, her attempts grew more frantic. Calls at all hours. Long emotional messages. Even showing up at my office once. I ignored everything. Whenever doubt crept in, I replayed the recording from that motel hallway. Her laughter always erased the hesitation. Meanwhile, the truth spread through our social circle. Supportive messages replaced shocked ones. Most people saw through her attempts to paint herself as the victim. A week later, she confronted me again, this time outside the attorney's office. "You cannot just throw away 6 years," she said angrily. I looked at her steadily. "You threw it away the moment you chose him." Her anger dissolved into tears. "I was lost," she whispered. "I can change." "This is not only about him," I replied quietly. "It is about the lies, the disrespect, the way you treated me like I did not matter. I deserve better." She stood there trembling, then turned and walked away without another word. The divorce was not easy, but it was final. Brandon vanished from her life once the situation exploded, leaving her to deal with the consequences alone. I moved out of our shared apartment into a smaller place near the lake. It was not luxurious, but it was peaceful. I reconnected with friends, picked up old hobbies, started running again at sunrise. Little by little I began to recognize myself. One evening Natalie called to check on me. "How are you holding up?" "Better than I expected," I admitted. "Still hurts sometimes, but I am moving forward." "You deserve happiness," she said firmly. After we hung up, I stood on the balcony watching the city lights shimmer across the water. For the first time in months, the future did not feel like something to fear. It felt open, unwritten, full of possibilities that had nothing to do with betrayal or lies. Olivia's choices did not destroy me. They revealed how strong I could be without her. And as the cool night breeze moved across the lake, I felt something unfamiliar yet welcome. Hope. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.